Hey, welcome. Today we're diving into a really fascinating and frankly intense spiritual practice known as deep intercessory prayer. We're going to look at it through the lens of a Christian devotional that presents this as a super powerful way for, in its own words, soul winning. So, right off the bat, to get why this kind of prayer is seen as so crucial, we have to understand the problem it's supposed to solve. And it all boils down to this one idea from the New Testament. This idea of a spiritual blindness that literally stops people from seeing the truth. This single concept is the launch pad for everything else we're going to talk about. And the response to that spiritual blindness? Well, it's not just a passing thought or a hopeful wish. The source material we're looking at describes a very focused, very powerful kind of prayer. It's framed as a deliberate spiritual action, all aimed at helping someone else find salvation.
Okay, so let's just make sure we're all on the same page with the main term here, intercession. It's a pretty simple idea. It just means praying for somebody else. But in this specific context, it's not for just anything. No, it's laser-focused on one thing and one thing only, the salvation of people who are considered spiritually lost.
All right, so why all the intensity? Why is this deep, passionate prayer seen as so vital? Well, according to this text, it's because there's a huge spiritual roadblock standing in the way of someone even hearing, let alone accepting the gospel.
So here's the full passage, and you can see it's really direct. It claims the gospel message is actively being hidden from non-believers. And the reason isn't just that they don't get it, it's that an external force, which it calls the God of this world, has intentionally blinded their minds. This idea of an active spiritual opposition, well, it's absolutely central to the whole practice.
And just to be crystal clear, when the text says the God of this world, it's not being subtle. It's talking about Satan. So the core belief here is that there's a very real, moment-by-moment spiritual battle happening for a person's heart and mind. And this prayer, it's seen as a way to step right into that fight.
So, if there's this intense spiritual war going on, what could possibly motivate someone to get involved? Well, according to the source, it all comes down to the unbelievable value it places on just one single human soul.
So the text pretty much poses this exact question. And to explain that value, it doesn't talk about money or anything material. Instead, it points to a parable told by Jesus.
And this right here, this is the key analogy. It's a story about a merchant who finds one pearl that is so perfect, so priceless, he liquidates everything he owns, every single thing, just to have it. The source draws a straight line from this pearl to the value of a person's soul.
And this really gets to the core of the logic. I mean, on the surface, that trade looks crazy, right? You give up everything you have for just one thing. But within this belief system, it's the most logical move you could possibly make. A soul is seen as having eternal worth, so that justifies an all-out, sell everything you own level of effort in prayer to win it.
Okay, so let's get practical. How do you actually do this? The text describes a very specific, and I mean incredibly intense, method of prayer that it calls travail.
The word travail itself means painful or laborious effort, and that's the perfect picture for what's being described here. This is not your quiet, hands-folded, meditative prayer. It's described as a deeply emotional, vocal, and relentless spiritual exercise, almost like a kind of spiritual wrestling match for someone else's sake.
And what's really fascinating is how it's broken down into this three-step process. First, you've got to feel a burden, like a genuine, deep care for that person. Then, number two, the prayer itself has to be passionate, even vocal. And finally, check out step 3. This isn't about setting a 10-minute timer. The instruction is to keep going, to push through, until you feel a kind of spiritual breakthrough or release.
The source also lays out a really critical rule: your motive. It makes it very, very clear that this kind of prayer can't be for selfish reasons. You can't be doing it hoping to marry the person or get a business deal out of it. The motive has to be totally pure, driven only by love and a desire to see that person's life turned around.
So here it is, the million-dollar question. What is all of this intense, selfless praying supposed to actually accomplish? What's the payoff? Well, the text claims it unlocks a divine power that has a direct, real-world impact on the person you're praying for.
This is what that prayer is meant to do. According to the text, we're not just talking about sending good vibes. It's believed to actively smash through spiritual resistance, cut through deception, and allow the light of the gospel to finally get past that blindness we started with. It's framed as a direct, spiritual counteroffensive. And this is the biblical verse the source points to back it all up. This passage from the book of James is presented as the key.
See how it directly connects that earnest, persistent kind of prayer to making tremendous power available? And that power is what's believed to be the game changer, the thing that brings about salvation.
So, let's just do a quick recap of what we've seen. It all starts with a problem: spiritual blindness. That problem is met with a powerful motivation, the incredible value of a soul, which then leads to a specific method, that intense prayer of travail. And it's all aimed at one final result: breaking through the blindness and achieving salvation. So we've just walked through a very specific framework for prayer from one particular Christian viewpoint, but it kind of makes you zoom out and think about the bigger picture, right? The whole idea of intense, focused prayer for someone else isn't unique to this one text. It really makes you wonder, how does this kind of powerful intercession show up in different religions around the world? What's similar? What's different? Definitely something to chew on.